To stand in the battlefield wreckage of the Vietnam War, to smell the napalm, taste the blood from your own forehead, and to hide from enemy soldiers sweeping over the battlefield. This is Keith Payne's journey. Welcome to the podcast where we track down Australian war veterans, have a chat with them, and hear their stories. I'm Alex Lloyd, and this is Life on the Line.
The single greatest sacrifice I've made is my family.
We weren't out there to take country, we were out there to do something. That was our job.
I did feel a lot of regret.
Friends were still getting killed.
It got to the point where, you're going to funerals quite often.
Do I lead under fire?
And that was a heavy responsibility, I guess, on my shoulders that I didn't want to screw up.
You have to be resilient to get a cope.
War itself is horrific. It's a horror story. It should never be dressed up as if it's something glorious.
Not what you can do for yourself, but what can you do for your country.
To volunteer for service was in effect to put your life on the line.
The elder statesman of our Victoria Cross recipients, Keith Payne VC, AM, has released his autobiography, No One Left Behind. Much has been written about Keith before, but this is the first time he's done a book in his own words. I'd intended to interview Keith to celebrate the book's release, but unfortunately, due to ongoing lockdowns, we're unable to see each other in person and make that recording happen. In lieu of that interview, we're releasing this special podcast about the book in the hope that you go out and get a copy for yourself or a Christmas present. I'm Keith's publisher at Pan Macmillan. First, I'll read the book's blurb. From the battlefields of Korea, Malaya, and Vietnam to the struggle for veterans' welfare, Keith Payne has never shied away from a fight. More than 50 years ago, this bravery saw him receive the Commonwealth's highest military honour, the Victoria Cross. Keith grew up one of 13 children in the shadow of the Great Depression and the Second World War. After seeing his father come home wounded from war, Keith joined the army. He was sent to fight in Korea at just 18 years old, the bloody beginning to decades of military service across the world. Keith's life was defined by one night in 1969, in the dark jungle of Vietnam, under heavy enemy fire. Keith returned to a fled battlefield to rescue 40 of his soldiers. For his extreme act of bravery in leading his men to safety, Keith became the last Australian to earn the VC for 40 years. Keith spent decades in the public spotlight while struggling with his own demons, then found new purpose as an advocate for others. In a lifetime of service, he has helped not only veterans of foreign wars, but also Indigenous diggers and communities left behind by civilian and military bureaucracy. No One Left Behind tells, for the first time in his own words, of Keith Payne's remarkable life. His definitive autobiography reveals the story of a big-hearted, iconic Australian and the heart and heartaches of a man who continues to fight for his mates. No One Left Behind features a foreword by Mark Donaldson VC, but you'll have to get the book to read that special tribute. And now I'll read some endorsements of the book from early readers. General the Honourable Sir Peter Cosgrove. I first met Keith Payne in Vietnam and was in awe of this understated hero, whose life-saving actions in combat became a treasured Australian legend. This book shows over time how that legend became the man. In my long military career, it may be said that my friendship with Keith and Flo was part of my firmament as an Australian general. The Honourable Dame Quentin Bryce. What Australians have grown to love about Keith Payne is the way he has pushed through tough times again and again and again, and got through them with an enduring commitment and service to his mates, with the compassion, experience, powerful advocacy, and always the determination and courage that have made him the hero he is. Daniel Kieran, VC. Keith doesn't beat around the bush with his honest account of the highs and lows he has gone through in the service of his country. No One Left Behind is so much more than a military memoir. Keith's larrikin behaviour and ability to spin a yarn leaves you wanting to know more. His story of a soldier, hero, and then returned serviceman delves into the unseen wounds of post-traumatic stress disorder, a result of his service in Korea and Vietnam. His advocacy in pursuing better conditions for future generations of servicemen and women sends a strong message to the government of today. What more could be done? The Honourable Dr. Brendan Nelson. The power is in the story. Keith Payne's life and story is a gift to our nation and the next generation. Born of hardship, a man shaped by the best and worst of human behaviour, who has loved and been loved by one woman. He fought wars for us. Then in peace, the lived traumas he brought back with him. A life given ultimately for others. To read No One Left Behind is to accept the challenge to be a better person. Mark Wales. To stand in the battlefield wreckage of the Vietnam War, to smell the napalm, taste the blood from your own forehead, and to hide from enemy soldiers sweeping over the battlefield. This is Keith Payne's journey. As I read No One Left Behind, I crouch beside him on the windswept frozen bluffs of Korea and duck with him in the napalm jungles of Vietnam. We plunge into the hellscape of Ben Het, walking time and again into the black jungle, wounded and terrified, to look for his fallen mates. Keith Payne is the last of a great generation. Accompany him on these battles and come full circle with him to experience the staid return to civilian order and employment. This soldier shows us a timeless lesson in both word and in deed. Leave no one behind. Ray Martin. No One Left Behind is a compelling read about a genuine, rolled gold Aussie hero. Always the larrikin, Keith Payne VC's memoir will make you smile and feel good about life, I promise. Professor Craig Stockings. Raw, brutal, compelling, and very, very personal. Payne's account illuminates more than the grisly and chaotic details of battlefields he has seen. This reflective tale of a remarkable Australian, placed in extraordinary circumstances, is also a story of the human condition, warts and all. Dr. Peter Yule. At one level, Keith Payne's book is an exciting story of his exploits in wars from Korea to Vietnam, culminating in the award of the Victoria Cross for bravery. At a deeper level, his post-war experiences show that war unleashes demons in the mind that can overwhelm even the bravest of the brave. No One Left Behind is out now in print, ebook, and audiobook. Life on the Line is brought to you by Thistle Productions. Artwork by Big Cat Design. Music by Dan Van Werkhoven. Thanks for listening, and lest we forget.